We have a deck to talk about today. It is the new Secret Lair deck that goes on sale May 12th with the new Super Drop, the Ultimate Pencil. Everybody's invited. It's a changeling deck. And in this video, we have a review for you of the deck that we did on stream, and then afterwards an upgrade with cards that you could cut from the deck and things that you can consider. If you do enjoy this review and upgrade by the end of the video, click like and subscribe. That's a great way to support the channel with just the click of a button. For now, take a look at this list of beautiful patron names. Big thank you to all of our patrons that powered the channel through Patreon. You all are amazing, and I would recommend you for a high-ranking government position. Thank you so much. Big thank you to Dragon Shield. Use our affiliate code MM5 to save 5% when you check out. For now, let's jump on into the review where I'm going to talk about what the deck is worth and if I think you should buy it. And this was a segment that we had on stream. If you want to catch a stream, come hang out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 1 to 5 Pacific Standard Time. We're going to talk about the review now and what we think of the deck at first glance. If you're on the fence and you're like, man, should I buy this deck? You're going to find this useful. And if you want to skip around, you can use chapters below and skip right to the upgrade video, which is the second half of the video. Thank you for spending your time here. Let's get into it. We got an entire deck list spoiled for us today, and we'll go ahead and talk about that. You and everyone you know have been cordially invited to the launch of Secret Lair's latest Commander deck. The Commander decks in the past have done kind of well. For example, Secret Lair Commander deck Cats and Dogs debuted at $150 and is now worth $350. But then you have decks like 20 Ways to Win, which came out and hasn't appreciated as much. You can look at the yearly chart on it, and it had this debut price that was very high, and now has very much kind of like, you know, dropped down. Not saying that $180 for a deck that sold for $150 is bad, but some of them do better than others. For example, Cat and Dog Factor is pretty good. Heads I Win, Tails You Lose, for example, another one that has done well, right? You look at the price of this, and boom. Oh man. It's pretty good, right? Cute to Brute also has not done that bad. When you look at the chart, nice little jump in price there. Yeah, Angel deck price. That's a good one. What was that one called? They're just like us, but cooler and with wings. That's what it is. Holy shit, you guys. $578. Wow. Oh my goodness gracious. So these can typically do well, and sometimes they don't do that great, but most of them are worth more than what people paid for them out the gate. This is an insane return on this. If you bought these Angel decks at $150, they are performing better than most of the stocks in the S&P 500. So, just saying. Secret Lair Commander deck, everyone's invited. Product details. You got Morph on the Boundless in here. The art on it is just incredible. And, yeah, let me finish reading this. You and everyone you know have been cordially invited to the launch of Secret Lair's latest Commander deck, and everyone's invited Commander deck celebrates the spirit of coming together for an epic party with cards fit for a low-key kickback or a real rager. You and every single creature type can party until the sun comes up when the everyone's invited Commander deck drops on May 12th. You've got Morph on the Boundless, got Raise the Palisade, choose a creature type, return all creatures that aren't of the chosen type to their owner's hand. That is a card, baby. That is a very good card. It is available in double rainbow foil. Double rainbow all the way across the sky. You got Maskwood Nexus in here. This is a card that is very good, very playable card. That is pretty sweet. Designed by Studio X's Megan Smith and Victoria Sperling, the Everyone's Invited Commander deck combines typical strategies from a variety of creature types in one ready-to-play Commander deck. Helmed by Morph on the Boundless, this deck utilizes a bevy of shapeshifters that are every single creature type in Magic. They're elves, slivers, hominids, and more, and they're here to party. You get one ready-to-play Commander deck, which includes 10x borderless double rainbow foil cards featuring new artwork. That is the big pull with the Secret Lairs. You're getting new art. 1x non-foil Rin and Siri Inseparable, and 89 non-foil Planeswalker Stamp reprints. Okay, 10x non-foil double-sided tokens. 4 of them are double rainbow foil shapeshifter tokens. 1 morph on the boundless display commander not legal in sanctioned play. The price on this is 200 buckarooskies. 200 buckarooskos. The deck is part of the Ultimate Pencil Super Drop and launches on May 12th, 2025 at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on MagicSecretLair.com, which is where we just were. This deck is available in limited quantities. You'll receive free shipping on all orders from MagicSecretLair.com that include the Everyone's Invited Commander deck. Everyone's Invited got Coat of Arms in here. This is a card. Deck includes 10 borderless double rainbow foil cards, each featuring brand new artwork that is the big pull, like I just said. Morphon, Raise the Palisades. Yeah, we have right now, chat, full spoilers going on for this thing. Bitter Blossom, Tauren Mauler, Avengers, Zendikar, Kindred Summons, Tendershoot Dryad, Coat of Arms, Maskwood, Soul Ring. I mean, we've got a pretty dope Soul Ring. These are all in full art, so do not confuse that with extended art. Extended art just typically goes across the art box, but full art extends over the borders. This is something that we've seen. There are some good cards in here. That Bitter Blossom is dope. That Tauren Mauler is great. Tauren Mauler, very good, iconic commander card. And then obviously you have Morphon. So the art on these new cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You get a Soul Ring, a Maskwood Nexus. The Soul Ring is probably going to be a pretty penny if I had to guess. Coat of Arms is sick. This is a really good card. Tendershoot Dryad. This is a really nice reprint. Kindred Summons. This is a really good card. Avenger of Zendikar. Iconic card. It's got like a keg for a head here. Jeez. What is going on? A keg for a head? Yeah, everybody's partying. All creature types. Retro says this is a witty and supportive comment. I appreciate. Yes, it is witty and supportive. Thank you, Retro, for the $2 super chat. I appreciate you. I really do like the Coat of Arms. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the deck list. All right, so tabletop 223. Okay, so it's right around that price. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Let's look at the heavy hitters here. Shape Sharer. Target shapeshifter becomes a copy of target creature until end of turn. Didn't you just find that page? That's pretty cool. Just bought an OG foil one. You got Kinsblade Cavalier, $15 card. Rin and Ciri Inseparable is $26. Is it really? That is wild. You also have Kindred Dominance in here, $10 card. Raise the Palisade, $10 card. Kindred Summons, $10 card. Coat of Arms, $16 card. Bitter Blossom, $15. Black Market Connections, $13. So a lot of stuff that's good in here. And then, as per usual, our mana base is kind of booty. You got the World Tree, which isn't a bad card. Mutavault, which isn't a bad card. Gilt-Leaf Palace, which isn't bad. And then a bunch of, pain lands. And I say bad, but I don't actually mean bad. The pain lands are actually very good cards, but when it comes to upgrading a mana base, pain lands typically go pretty quickly. Like stuff like Jungle Shrine, these kind of cards that enter the battlefield tapped, these would ultimately end up coming out, in my opinion, if you wanted to upgrade the mana base, and you would have, Frontier Bivouac, these kind of things that are your tri-lands that enter tapped. These would be replaced with your triomes and your lands from Streets of New Capenna. That way you're able to tutor them up with fetch lands. So when you have a 5-color deck like this, the mana base typically is something that I would work on first. 59 says the deck utilizes a bevy of shapeshifters that are every single creature type in Magic, extremely misleading for casual players like me, lol. That quote pulled from the Secret Lair article revealing the deck. I see what you're saying, 59, because you're thinking that all of the creatures would end up being, if it's like a shapeshifter, it needs to specifically be a changeling. I see what you're saying. Based on this MTG Goldfish breakdown, that the tabletop version of this is $223, so just a little bit over the price. However, if you're buying it and getting it shipped. I imagine after tax and shipping, it's probably going to cost more than that. And if you're in Canada, it's going to be extremely expensive as per usual. As a reminder, the Secret Lair party starts on May 12th and everyone's invited. Commander deck will only be available on the Secret Lair website. I mean, the one thing that we can say about this Secret Lair deck is that the extended art cards do look pretty sweet. The Morphon, the Rays, Bitter Blossom, Mauler, Avengers Zendikar, Kindred Summons, Tendershoot Dryad, and Coat of Arms, and then Maskwood Nexus and this Soul Ring. I mean, the Soul Ring is pretty sick. It's pretty cool what's going on here. Artist to the moon for changelings. Everyone who has at least $200 is invited. Yeah, Charles, exactly. It's kind of interesting because it's like, I think for 150 you're going to get a lot more people interested. 200, it's like, I see what we're trying to do here. We're trying to increase the price, but I don't know how much that is going to resonate with the community. I mean, if they sell out, then we can just expect the price of these decks to be 200, right? Corey, as a Canadian, it's going to be like $400 purchase. God, I hope not. Jeez. Now for the upgrade part of this deck. Morphon the Boundless is at the helm. It is a changeling, which means it's every creature type, which is the whole point of this deck. I'm going to talk briefly about how this deck works and what you're trying to do with it. As Morphon enters, choose a creature type. Spells of the chosen type you cast cost Wooburg less to cast. This effect reduces only the amount of colored mana you pay. Other creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how this deck works. You have Morphon at the helm. For the sake of this video, we went ahead and we put all of the changelings here so that you could see which changelings are which, what stuff does what. Changelings are going to be any creature that you name. So you have 24 changelings in the deck. What you need to know is that these creatures here, the untagged creatures that are in the deck, stuff like Avenger of Zendikar, when this creature enters, create a 0/1 plant. Alta Polani, create a 0/1 green egg creature token with Defender. When it dies, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield. All of your changelings are eggs, right? They're all egg creatures. The same is true with Avenger of Zendikar. They're all plants. Slivers you control of haste. All of your changelings are slivers by default. Harabez Druid, add X mana of any one color where X is the number of allies you control. They are allies and so on. So when you go through here and you look at these different creatures in the deck, night creatures you control have double strike, meaning your entire team, all of your changelings are going to have double strike, and so on. Kiri, other plants and tree folks you control get +2/+0. Magda, all your dwarves get +1/+0. They're all going to make treasures, and so on. So you go through here. These are your real payoffs. So when you look through your changelings, you're going to see like stuff like Black Market Connections. This makes a changeling. Bloodline Pretender. When it enters, choose a creature type. Whenever another creature of the chosen type enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on it. All these changelings play off of each other. They are every single creature type. The deck is going to play differently each time, depending on which of these payoffs you get. Now, the thing to keep in mind is if you keep Morphon at the helm, because I'm going to give you another option that you can put at the helm of the deck that is actually included in the deck. If you put Morphon at the helm, spells of the chosen type you cast cost Wooburg less to cast. This effect reduces only amount of colored mana you pay. When you play Morphon, because you're choosing a creature type, you're going to want to pick whatever is in your hand. So if it's a sliver, you're probably going to want to pick slivers. If it's Avenger of Zendikar, you're probably going to want to pick Elemental. If it's Magda is in your hand, you're probably going to want to pick Dwarf. Because keep in mind, all of your changelings are already dwarves. And Morphon reads, as it enters, choose a creature type. Spells of the chosen type you cast costs Wooburg less to cast. This effect reduces only amount of colored mana you pay, and other creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+0. So whatever is in your hand is going to be what you want to pick, because you're going to reduce not only that. So if an elemental is in your hand, you're going to want to pick an elemental. It's going to make your elemental cost less. If a sliver is in your hand, you're going to want to pick sliver. It's going to make your slivers cost less. If it's this plant druid, you'll want to pick plant. It's going to make your plants. Or your druid, it's going to make your druids cost less. That kind of thing. Morphon making things cost Wooburg less, but it only reduces the colored mana. Go ahead and look through these changelings. It's going to make pretty much everything cost 1 less, with the exception of Unsettled Mariner, which is going to be free, and Morit of the Frost, legendary snow creature. It's going to make this cost a blue and a green less. So this will cost a blue and 2 other. But other than that, everything here, all of your changelings will cost 1 less, which is a pretty substantial reduction. But Morophon does cost 7 in order to play it. So the other option that you can go with this deck, if you want something that you can get out earlier, is Recaramel Biologist. It costs Wooburg to play, and when it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Slivers you control, and this is the key part, non-token creatures you control are the chosen type in addition to their other creature types. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. So say you play Recaramel, let's just say you name Slivers. In addition to all of your changelings, which are already slivers, that is going to mean that all of these creatures, Alta Polani, Avengers Zendikar, your slivers that are already slivers, Harabez Druid, Harper Recruiter, all of these are going to enter as slivers. So you could just use Recaramel to give your entire team, all of the creatures in your deck, non-token creatures, the sliver creature type. So your changelings are slivers by default because they're changelings, but now all of this is a sliver, which means that your payoffs like Coat of Arms are getting bigger payoffs. Bloodline Pretender gets bigger payoffs. You could just say that everything's an assassin, a mercenary, a pirate, a rogue, or a warlock, and then Double Down gets a bigger payoff. So all of your changelings are outlaws, and all of your non-token creatures are outlaws. That's definitely a way that you could go. The same is true with spells like Kindred Discovery, which says when it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. And the same is true with Kindred Summons. Choose a creature type, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X creature cards of the chosen type, where X is the number of creatures you control of that type. Put those cards on the battlefield, then shuffle the rest of the revealed cards into your library. This is also a really interesting land in the deck that essentially is a tri-land that comes in untapped. When Murmuring Bosk enters the battlefield, you may reveal a Treefolk card from your hand. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. Remember, all of your changelings are going to be Treefolk by default. So a really cool land that taps for Abzan colors. Pretty interesting little land. So there's 2 different ways that you could go with this deck, and both commanders exist in the deck. You can keep it with Morophon, which costs more, but it's going to give your creatures a discount, and it's also going to buff your entire team with the +1/+1, but it doesn't go wide like Recaramel. So Recaramel, for example, has this fun thing that kind of goes wide. It's going to allow you to tap for 3, create a 1/1 colorless sliver creature token. So it lets you just kind of continue to generate creatures, maybe when you're not drawing stuff off the top of your deck, which is an interesting way that you can take the deck as well. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the cards that could come out. And then we're going to talk about cards that could come in depending on the direction that you want to take the deck. So let's talk about some cards that could come out. I think Bernard is pretty good. You might want to keep it in there because it gives your team +2/+2 and trample, but you could end up cutting this guy for some stuff that's more impactful. We'll talk about that in a second. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1 food golem artifact creature in addition to its other types, and has 2 and tap, sack an artifact, you gain 3 life, which is what food tokens do. There's also Bruce Tarl here, roving rancher. Oxen you control have double strike, so he's going to give the entire team double strike. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, exile the top card of your library. If it's a land, create a 2/2 white ox creature token. Otherwise, you may cast it until the end of your next turn. So not a bad card, but again, we do have some stuff in the sideboard that is going to be a little bit more impactful that we're going to talk about in a second. Crib Swap, this is a good card, and yes, it does have that changeling creature type. However, bringing in like a Path to Exile or simple Swords to Plowshares is going to be more impactful, and it's going to be something that costs less mana to do. So we'll probably want to go with that. Feline Sovereign, other cats you control get +1/+1 and have protection from dogs. Whenever one or more cats you control deal combat damage to a player, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment that player controls. This card is not bad. It is something that you might want to keep in the deck, but it's also something that, compared to the rest of the cards in the deck, could be a cut. Nameless Inversion, Changeling, target creature gets +3/-3 and loses all creature types until end of turn. Again, there's going to be better and more impactful and more affordable removal that we can use other than this. Realm Breaker, it's kind of mid. We're playing it for that big 10 cost ability. 10 and tap, sacrifice it, search your library for any number of Praetor cards, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So yes, in this ideal world where we're able to get to 10 mana, we could go and get every single changeling out of our deck and just put it onto the battlefield, which is a huge payoff for 10. But I feel like very rarely in a game of Commander are we ever going to get to that point before somebody just destroys this. The other ability, 2 and tap, target opponent mills 3 cards, put a land card from your graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control. It gains if this land would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. It's not a bad ability. It's a pretty cool card, and it does allow us to ramp, but it's really just the kind of thing where I think we could go with something a little bit better. Shields of the Velis Vel. Changeling, creatures target player controls get +0 and +1 and gain all creature types until end of turn. Card is pretty mid. Sophia Dog Detective. When it enters the battlefield, create Tiny, a legendary 2/2 green dog detective creature token with trample. And you can pay 1 and sack an artifact token, put a 1/1 counter on each dog you control. So it has whenever a dog you control deals combat damage to a player, create a food token. So your changelings are getting through, they're creating food tokens, and then you can sack those to put a 1/1 counter on your entire team. It's kind of clunky. It's not awful, but I do think that we have some stuff in the considering that you might want to go with. Spoils of Adventure. This is a card that I don't hate. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature in your party. So the changelings, they count for each creature type. So your party consists of up to 1 of each of your cleric, rogue, warrior, and wizard. If you have 4 changelings on the battlefield, it counts for each of those, and this card is going to cost a white and a blue. A white and a blue at instant speed to gain 3 life and draw 3 cards is not bad. I think that this card could absolutely stay in the deck, but again, it is in the possible to remove category just based on the fact that we have other cards that we can consider. Stick Together, each player chooses a party from among creatures they control, then sacrifices the rest. This is a neat little board wipe that works for us, but I think if you're going with a board wipe, you could go with something that's like a little bit cleaner. Again, because we have changelings, we're going to be able to most likely just keep 4 of everything. We're going to have a cleric, a rogue, a warrior, and a wizard, and then most likely our opponents aren't going to have that. So this is a card that you could absolutely keep in the deck as well. I know this category is called remove, but it's almost like considering to remove is kind of a way you should treat this. And then the Bears of Lityara, create a 2/2 shapeshifter creature token with changeling. Any number of target shapeshifter creatures you control have base power and toughness 4/4. And then choose up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. Each creature with power 4 or greater you control deals combat damage. Its power to that permanent. This is not a bad card either. It's interesting. It works with our synergies. In our non-cuts, I do want to talk about some stuff that could potentially come out. Like Bloodline Pretender, this might be kind of like low stakes to you. This could be something that could come out. You could take out Graveshifter. This is just a Gravedigger that happens to have Changeling as its creature type. Imposter of the Sixth Pride. This guy is kind of low stakes. It's just a 3/1 for 2. It's a blade. It happens to have Changeling, which is great, but we could bring in stuff that's more impactful than it as well. The rest of this stuff in here, Maskwood Nexus, Masked Vandal, Mirror Entity, all of these have pretty good, strong abilities. Mutavault, Realm Walker is very strong. Shapesharer. Tauren Mauler has been a house ever since Commander came out years ago. Skeletal Changeling having Regenerate is very strong. Universal Automaton. This is a card that is low stakes. It is a 1/1 for 1. So you might want to cut something like this as well if you're looking for something more impactful. And then we do have Unsettled Mariner here, which seems pretty good. He's just going to put attacks on our opponents if they want to do stuff to us. Our untagged artifacts, Signet, Coat of Arms, and Soul Ring are all very, very strong. Our sorceries are very strong as well, having Cultivate, Distant Melody, choose a creature type, draw a card for each permanent you control of that type. This is just going to draw us a ton of cards. Farseek being very good. Ramp, the same is true with Kodama's Reach. Then you have Kindred Dominance, Raise the Palisade, choose a creature type, return all creatures that aren't of the chosen type to their owner's hand. So this is going to be like a one-sided board wipe for us. It's very good. And then the creatures here, again, these are our payoffs. Avenger of Zendikar, all of our changelings are going to play nicely off of these. You have the Cloud Shredder Sliver. This is going to give everybody tap. This is going to make it to where we can float a lot of mana. Harper Recruiter, whenever it attacks, look at the top 4 cards of your library and may reveal a cleric card, a rogue card, a warrior card, and or a wizard card from among those cards and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom. This is going to give us like a lot of velocity, drawing cards off the top of our deck. Night creatures you control have double strike, so the entire team has double strike. Carry Talented Sprout, giving other plants we control +2/+0. Seems very good. Mana Weft Sliver. Sliver creatures you control have tap at 1 mana of any color. That's very good. Rin and Siri, whenever you cast a dog spell, create a 1/1 green cat. Whenever you cast a cat spell, create a 1/1 green dog. And then it deals damage equal to the number of dogs you control. You gain life equal to the number of cats you control. This is just a really good removal spell in the deck. Risen Reef is a big deal as well. Whenever it or another elemental enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped. If you don't, the card onto the battlefield, put it in your hand. Tazri is a big deal in here as well. And Tendershoot Dryad being one of the cards that got new art. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 green Saproling creature token. Saprolings you control get +2/+0 as long as you have the City's Blessing. You're going to get the City's Blessing in here pretty easily. The World Tree is also massive in here. This land is really crazy. The World Tree is also massive in here. This land is pretty crazy. As long as you control 6 or more lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. So then for 2 white, 2 blue, 2 black, 2 red, and 2 green, sacrifice the World Tree, search your library for any number of god cards, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So this is doing the same thing as Realm Breaker does, so you have a little bit of redundancy there. But having this on a land seems better than having it on an artifact here. I do think if you want to keep both of these, you could. But let's talk about some cards that we could bring in if we want to shake the deck up a little bit. So there are 29 cards here that are in considering. Now there's a couple things that are important to keep in mind. The Leyline of Mutation, you may pay Wooburg rather than pay the mana cost of spells you cast. This is going to pair nicely if we go with Morophon. The same is true with Joda. Joda reads, flying, you may pay Wooburg rather than pay the mana cost of spells you cast. And then the same is also true with Fists of the Suns. You may pay Wooburg rather than pay the mana cost of spells you cast. Remember, Morophon reads, spells of the chosen type you cast cost Wooburg less to cast this effect reduces only the amount of colored mana you pay. The way this works is Morophon with any of the spells we just talked about, Fist of the Suns, Joda, or the Leyline of Transformation, any of them you're going to be able to do the alternate cost and just pay 0 for anything that you pay, right? So if you get any of those spells on the battlefield, you're just going to be able to pretty much just shit out anything that you get, any creatures. Now, if you don't decide to go with Morophon, or even if you do, these are other spells that you should probably consider. I do like the idea of just cutting stuff for simply having more signets. Now, I just put some signets and some talismans in here. These aren't exactly the ones that you would want to go with, but this is just stuff that should be on your mind. Golgari Signet, the signets that are just 1 and tap to add 2. Ramp is never a bad thing. Having a nice little pile of mana rocks isn't a bad way to go, especially if you're going with Morophon, which costs 7. As you can see, the artifacts in here are Signet and Soul Ring, and then the only other way that we're ramping is through stuff like Cultivate, Farseek, Kodama's Reach. So you might want to put some of the mana rocks in here if you decide to go that way. Another card that's been extremely strong since it came out in Foundations is Banner of Kinship. As this artifact enters, choose a creature type. This artifact enters with a fellowship counter on it for each creature you control of the chosen type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1 for each fellowship counter on it. So this card is just extremely strong by itself. I do think that Banner of Kinship has really given Kindred decks this massive boost to viability, and it is a killer of a card. Just this thing is a monster. Other than that, stuff like Guardian Project, whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it doesn't have the same name as another creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, draw a card. I never hate draw in stuff like this. I think draw is very good. Leyline of Transformation, when it enters, choose a creature type. Creatures you control are the chosen type in addition to their other types. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. This is just giving us a little bit of caramel redundancy, and it's going to make it to where all of those spells that aren't changelings are now able to play off of one creature type. So we're going to get all of the benefits from there. So Leyline of Transformation, not a bad thing to consider. Prismatic Omen as well. If we are trying to do mana fixing, consider Prismatic Omen. This is a card that isn't bad, and it's able to accomplish that goal. Lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types. Cards that are just better than like Crib Swap, right? We have Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares. I don't need to tell you how good Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares are. If you're looking to cut what we were talking about up here, stuff like Crib Swap, stuff like Nameless Inversion, if you just want better removal that costs less, go with the tried and true Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares. Absorb Identity is an interesting card as well. Return target creature to its owner's hand. You may have shapeshifters you control become copies of that creature until end of turn. Bounce their big thing, turn your entire team into that big thing until end of turn. This could end up being an absolute blowout for you. Really fun card to consider that came out of call time. Whelming Wave is fun too. 2 blue and 2 other. Return all creatures to their owner's hand except for Krakens, Leviathans, Octopuses, and Serpents. Not everybody's going to be running Krakens, Leviathans, Octopuses, and Serpents, but you are because you're running Changelings. So Whelming Wave is going to be a nice one to switch out for stuff like, where was it? Stuff like Stick Together, right? Each player chooses a party from among creatures they control, then sacrifices the rest. This is a spell that you could keep in the deck, but if you wanted to cut it, Whelming Wave could be a nice card to replace it with. Now, we were cutting stuff like Bernard Ginger Sculptor. We were cutting stuff like Bruce Tarl. Let's talk about some creatures that could come in their place. Burrowcoast, Party Leader, a black and 3. It is also a Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, and Wizard. Whenever it attacks, defending player loses X life, and you create X treasure tokens, where X is the number of creatures in your party. So whenever this attacks, if we have a battlefield full of Changelings, we're going to be making a ton of treasure, which could be very good for us. We also have Harmonic Sliver. All slivers have, when this permanent enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact or enchantment. This is a fun one. It's pretty much Aura Shards on a stick. Herald of Hoofbeats, very good. This guy has horsemanship, so while Bruce Tarl is giving the team double strike, this guy's letting the team just get through by default. Other knights you control have horsemanship. Everybody's a knight. Horsemanship reads this creature can't be blocked except by creatures with horsemanship. So if everybody has horsemanship, everybody's unblockable. Joda, if we really want to get that payoff, if we decide to stick with Morophon. Then we have Miram, for example, Flying Ward 2. Whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a token that's a copy of it, except the token isn't legendary if that dragon is legendary. So Miram is going to be really good in here as well. Start creating tokens. Omo should be absolutely in this deck, and it's a card that's like dirt cheap. It's 29 cents. Whenever it enters or attacks, put an everything counter on each of up to 1 target land and up to 1 target creature. Each land with an everything counter on it is every land in addition to its other types, and each non-land creature with an everything counter on it is every creature type. So this is a way to put on our Avenger of Zendikar an everything counter so that it becomes all creature types. Priest of Titania, add a green for each elf on the battlefield. Everything's an elf. Reaper King, other scarecrow creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever another scarecrow comes into play under your control, destroy target permanent. Seems very good. Other things to consider: 3-tree mascot. This 2 costs 2/1 as a changeling, and for 1, add 1 mana of any color, activate only once each turn. Just a nice way to filter. Titan of Lityara, 2 blue and 4 for a 6/6. Whenever it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Titan of Lityara is the chosen type in addition to its other types, and whenever Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, you may draw a card for each other creature you control that shares a creature type with it. If you do, discard a card. Way to draw a ton of cards. I think more draw in this deck could be good. There's not a ton of draw in it. That comes in the stock list. Valiant Changeling, a 5 and 2 white for a Changeling, 3/3. It costs 1 less to cast for each creature type among creatures you control. This effect can't reduce the amount of mana this spell costs by more than 5, and it has double strike. So you could just get like a Changeling double striker out for 2 white if you have the right board state. And I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Oja, Jaws of the Conclave, but Vigilance, Trample, Word 3, whenever it attacks, put X/1/1 counters on each creature control, where X is the number of elves you control. Draw a card for each wolf you control. Everything's an elf, and everything is a wolf. So boom, you're drawing a lot of cards, you are putting a lot of counters. Voja seems very good in the 99 of this list. So there's a lot of different ways that you can build this one. You can go with Morophon, or you can go with Rakarmel. I think that either one is an interesting way to build it. I think that Morophon giving the entire team a cost reduction is pretty fun. And if you want to get degenerate with Joda, Fist of the Suns, crap stuff out for 0, I think that's a really fun way to take the deck. And yeah, this deck is different. It's weird. It's interesting. I hope that you have enjoyed this kind of like upgrade. There's different ways you could take the upgrade, just like there's different ways that you could take the deck. How would you build this one? Let me know in the comments. I'd like to know, you know, kind of like what your direction you would build this deck would be. I think that it's kind of all over the place, but at the same time, I think it's fun and I think it's different. Obviously, there are ways that you could come in and upgrade the mana base. I could probably see myself cutting stuff like Arcane Sanctum and bringing in stuff like, you know, fetch lands and the triomes and or the cards that came out of Capenna, the tri-lands that came out of those that you can search up. That is getting into a little bit more expensive of an upgrade once you start bringing in fetch lands and triomes and that kind of thing. So I think, you know, we just, for the sake of this video, keep the mana base as is. I think whoever designed the mana base, you know, they typically have a pretty good idea of what's going on. That's definitely something that you could do as well to kind of, you know, take this to the next level. Stuff like Cultivate, Farseek, Kodama's Reach, that's going to be our ramp, that's going to be our fixing. And then if you do want fixing, that's also on a budget, like we already mentioned. You could bring in signets and talismans and that kind of thing. All right, folks, hope you enjoyed that review and that upgrade of the new Secret Lair Everybody's Invited Commander deck, which has the huge price of $200. If that's a lot for you, let me know in the comments. As of right now, you see all of these names scrolling by at the $10 level. These are our patrons at the $10 level. Big thank you to all of them. Let me tell you about Brad. Brad is a medical doctor. He's known for performing surgery on all of the stuff that comes out of Area 51. He can't tell you about it, but he's told me about it. Aliens do exist. So we have Brad on our team here. He's one of our patrons at the $10 level. When he's not saving the world and doing stuff, you know, straight out of Independence Day, he's here, you know, consuming Magic the Gathering content. I'm sure he's extremely excited about all of the space set that's going to be coming out. What is that set called? I don't know. Anyway, big thank you to all of our $10 patrons. And of course, thank you to you, the subscriber. Thank you for spending your time here at Martishius Magic. Hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, we'll see you later. Goodbye. Here's me winking. I love you. I love you. Goodbye. You can see my cat back there sleeping. Isn't he a cutie? All right. Anyway, see ya.